the next gym tip video. So basically, obviously, I've been doing these and I've had a lot of thank you messages saying it's helped them and whatnot. So basically, a lot of people was asking me this on the lives. They were like, when I was going live on TikTok, a lot of people were like, hey, so, we're bulking, what should we do? How many calories should we eat, etc., etc. When you're bulking, if you're serious and you want to put on real size, dramatic size, you're going to have to put on some fat. I've put some fat on now while bulking. It is impossible. And what you can lean bulk. Now, I'm not saying dirty bulk. I'm eating over 6,000 calories. Can you imagine if I ate chicken and rice for every meal, how much and how large those portions would be? It'd be impossible to eat. So you get to a stage where you'll need to use things to increase your calories. Nuts are good. You can have an handful of nuts, 20 grams of nuts, 260, 280 calories. Boom. So you've got that twice a day. That's an extra 500 calories. There's loads of ways of doing it. But once you get into that big number, you'll want to do it. Now, the main thing to make sure you're progressing is simple when you're on your bulk. I am a very essential. The weights need to be going up. They need to be going up. So if you're bench pressing 140, let's say 140 kilos, and you do a bulk, and you get up to 160 kilos over 3-4 months, whatever, that's a successful bulk on the chest period and the triceps, etc., etc., because obviously you've generated a lot of strength on those exercises, and if your rep range is going up, your strength is going up, you should, it should go transfer into muscle mass. The same with your back. If you were doing bent over rows and you're doing 100 kg, let's say, and you end up doing 130 kg by the end, for the same reps, that's a brilliant progression. Your back can only do anything but grow. So progressive overload is essential. And I really think it's important to be pushing yourself on your reps and intensity. I've become less a fan of volume and more a fan of intensity with training now. And you want to be seeing great progress. So it's very important. But don't worry if you put a bit of fat on. I've put some fat on, as long as you're putting muscle to a much faster. So if you put 2 pounds of fat on, but you put 8 pounds of muscle on, that isn't too bad. 3 pounds of fat, 7 pounds of muscle, as long as it's that way, you don't want it to be 50-50. And likewise then, when you get to the cut, you want to strip the fat off as quick as possible so that you can get back to bulking and, progressing and putting on size. So focus purely on fat burning then. But yeah, when you're bulking, if you put some fat on, that's fine. That's not an excuse to eat like a fucking piglet and be disgusting. But it's an excuse to add in the calories, really push yourself. Make sure you're pushing yourself in the gym. And then them calories aren't going to waste, so that when you cut, people go, oh, wow. Because it's not about how you look on the bulk, remember that. So people are going to me, hey, you look massive in the gym, you've put a lot of size on, blah, blah. Now, I can guarantee you, come March, April, when I'm cutting down, people will go, whoa, you look way bigger than you did in February. I won't. I'll be on like 2,000 calories, less maybe. I will look way bigger because the fat will come off to show just how much muscle mass I've actually added. But during this time, my weights won't be as great. So it'll be about keeping my strength up. So, I'm not going to be doing 350 kilo deadlifts or anything like that because it's just not going to, pull my back. My strength won't be at the thing. So the goal will be keeping as much of that strength as possible to hold into as much lean tissue as possible so that when I'm let's say you're doing a 220 bench, instead of doing a 220 bench at 260 pounds, you're now doing a 220 kilo bench at 220 pounds, and you're ripped. So that when you start bulking again, think of how strong you're going to get, think of how much muscle mass you're going to get, and you're naturally, even though you won't be progressing your weights during this time, you'll naturally be stronger because you're doing it at such a lighter body weight. So that's a very important thing.